Okay, so this is the letter we're in the middle of from Rabbi Shneur Zalman Vliadi to his students to his Chasidim in Vilna, and it's a response, to this sort of to what the Vilna Gaon had written. So he first tells his Chasidim, don't bother arguing with the Vilna Gaon; it's not going to help for several reasons. He lists a bunch of reasons, and that was in the previous letter. And then in this one, he's talking a little bit more about Kabbalah. And he says that we should judge the Vilna Gaon meritoriously. And he says that that really the Vilna Gaon is getting wrong reports. The Nigmar Hadin at P, let's see, Gimel Ayin, which is QBS Adam. So saying the Vilna Gaon has not seen us directly, he's getting it from witnesses. And these are witnesses that are kosher witnesses. But among the witnesses, there's this one guy, it sounds like, who has it out for the Chasidim, who he refers to as a sirsur. It sounds like the person is either being paid to be a false witness or there's something amiss. And that person is not going to judge us favorably. And that person is reporting to the Vilna Gaon, and he changes the language a little bit. And he might not be outright lying to the Vilna Gaon, but what emphasis you put in, how you change the language a little bit, can, Rabbi Shneur Zalman says, can change the testimony from 180 degrees. Also, this reminds me of the very beginning of, obviously everything a person says, it connects. How you say something is everything. At the beginning of the pandemic in Israel, they say one of the reasons that the pandemic hit at the very beginning in the Haredi community so hard is that the person who, the head of the Haredi community was 100 years old, and in Israel, and so obviously he didn't read the newspaper, he doesn't know what's going on. So it was the job of one of his children to tell him what's going on, and he would make a decision. So they went to him and they said, instead of talking about the pandemic, they said the Medina wants to close the schools. The Medina means the secular government of Israel wants to close the yeshivas, which was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. And so of course he said, God forbid, we should never do that. And then because of that, the Charedim did not cooperate. You can see it on YouTube. The Charedim did not cooperate. This is the very, very beginning of the pandemic, with the government's attempt to close the schools. And so that's true. What a person says, how they say it, how much they say, can easily be tailored to a person's agenda. So that seems to be what he's saying here about, at least he's not saying about all the witnesses. He's saying most of them are kosher, but one person changes it a little, and the Gaon's not traveling around going to visit the Chassidim. He wouldn't even meet with them. And certainly he's not thinking, maybe the Chassidim have some word of God to spread. That maybe they're not thinking maybe the Chasidim have a different take on the Zohar, and that's where it's coming from. What it should have been is that face to face we would have talked, and not through an intercessor. And remember, Rabbi Shneur Zalman wanted to do it, Vilna Gaon did not accept it. And you need a very high level of holiness to understand this kind of Kabbalah. He should have had witnesses who really were holy. And the Vilna Gaon did not want to receive from us any tinus, any arguments. And Umanishtana hayom. Hine gam ata hapam lanishma mishmo shum chazar v'charatim mekedem. Lomar she'achshav nolad lo is safek leitos b'yadam. And when he says we have not heard from the misnagdim, those who are opposed to us at all, any even doubt, that maybe they made a mistake. Adarabba adama meidim mashibikesh beis alafim adumim l'tzedakah u'lemitzvah acheret zahanish l'rotza la'atruchei. So it sounds like he's talking about money here. He's saying hadamim me'idim, the money is testimony that he wanted 2,000 coins for charity. So he says in the note here, Mustaber Mikan Shagrua, it sounds like the Vilna Gaon agreed to a debate with Rabbi Shneur Zalman Liadi, but only on the condition that the Chasidim would pay 2,000 coins for tzedakah. Why? In order to make up for the missed time, I guess time is money, that would be spent on the debate. I guess he was worried that the yeshiva would be detrimental for the yeshiva. So he says in the note here, this is the one place where we see any inkling that the Vilna Gaon might have agreed under some condition to meet with the Chasidim. Why they ask for so much money? Because they know that we have the answers. But they don't want to accept our answers. As we see what happened in the city of Shklov. That in the city of Shklov, as we read before, they basically couldn't answer the Chasidim back, and they basically just said, we rely on the Vilna Gaon. It's interesting how much personalities are important here. He says, the rabbis say, just like it's a mitzvah to say something that will be heard, it's a mitzvah to not say something that will not be heard by people, cause more trouble. The rabbis say that a Talmid Chacham, somebody who's a scholar, that you should listen to them. He says it's not that, God forbid, we suspect the Vilna Gaon of lying or of falsifying things. But these are things that depend on understanding of the heart. Quote from the Gemara, that you have to be willing to accept what we say. And if it was transmitted through somebody who hates us, that can't see any merit in us, he's talking about a different halacha, but he's saying basically that if it's transmitted through somebody who has a bias, and terrible things are happening to our people in Russia and Lithuania, In Russia and in Lithuania. So the Vilna Gaon says something. Now, so one thing he talked about was how the message gets to the Gaon, but now he's talking about how the message gets from the Gaon out into the world. So he says in the note here, so he says the Gaon says something, and then it's like a game of telephone for how it gets out into the world. Right? He says it to his students, and then, there's no controlling the message. I saw a letter from one of the Gaon students in Vilna, and it's so terrible that I can't even write it down. But what he's saying is that there's a lot of falsification going on. He has in the note here that the Vilna Gaon Hagorim Harashay the Milchama. The Vilna Gaon is the source of the war against the Chasidim. Maybe Rav Shlomo Zalman Bigrat Tilder of Pinchas Horovitz, Rabbi Shel Frankfurt. Apparently, Rav Shlomo Zalman wrote a letter to Rav Pinchas Horowitz, to Rabbi Frankfurt Amman, and Ulam Bigeret Acheres Bos Shanal Anshe Shlomo, in another letter that he wrote to his Chasidim, Rabbi Shner Zalman, Mavakesh Mehem Lo L'Safer Acher Mitzvah Shlegra. He says, don't speak Lashon Hara about the Vilna Gaon after the Vilna Gaon died. And then he said the war didn't really come from the Vilna Gaon. So that's interesting. So Rabbi Shner Zalman has a tremendous amount of, and he does not want to blame the Vilna Gaon for the war. And he says that actually the Vilna Gaon, obviously the Vilna Gaon is on some level the source of it, but he would not have been apparently what's being put into the mouth of the Vilna Gaon, what's being reported to him is not correct, and what's being reported from him is in the telephone. Rabbi Shner Zalman is really going far out of his way to retain the honor of the Vilna Gaon. Now, the Vilna Gaon is, arguably the greatest rabbi of his generation. Rabbi Shner Zalman is no lightweight either, but he has tremendous respect for the Vilna Gaon. It reminds you a little bit of Hillel and Shammai, Hillel said the words of Shammai before his own, but to be honest, Shammai didn't do that, V'haya mikotel michtavam shel malatam nikar u'mevin elai shekozos nolalam malatim nochem rak shikar smichasam pezan Hashem. Says the Vilna Gaon is actually relying on just two men, and he's not getting great information. Lo mechachma shalu al zed the barech shibusam lo mamash kashiva kamei alachriya neged basakon achosik sheyasim b'shulchan of Sadia. There's, I guess, a student of the Vilna Gaon named Sadia. This was the question of whether the Vilna Gaon had recanted. Shayomar called the Shem Rabbo Valilo Midas Atzmo Trapir Marim Dam Ariv, and he says Lufia Nishmain Lita Mishtirim Levavo Sholabat Datim Bezagon. He says in all of Lithuania, nobody's going to go against anything said in the name of the Vilna Gaon. The Turgum of Italy, he says, but far away in Italy, in such places, they might. So it's an interesting thing. This is the nature of these kinds of things, is that once the word is out on the street, it becomes a war and you can't control it. Whatever it is. It's like, you think about whether, there was an alternative Orthodox rabbinical school that was developed 20 years ago, and they wouldn't let them into the RCA, the Rabbinical Council of America, right? But was there actually a lot of research done? Was there discussion? Was it based on, the actual curriculum or the people? You get the feeling that these kinds of wars begin with, das Torah. They begin with a rabbi who has a lot of clout, and that person is legitimately worried, let's say, about a certain movement or sect. On the other hand, they take on a life of their own, and the hope that one could actually judge things legitimately, meritoriously, really do the due diligence, it doesn't happen. These things take on a life of their own. That's the danger of, lashon hara, of slander. And just a little change in words and attitude can change, can start a war like this. But, it's a lot of hearsay about these things. I've seen this over and over again in Orthodox. It's today around politics probably also. And in the eyes of the Vilna Gaon, we are apikursim, we're heretics. And there's nothing to us. That's how he sees it. And because of this letter that was written by his students, they burned our books. The Tanya, it sounds like. Oh no. He says on the bottom that it means the tzavas rivash, the ethical will of the Baal Shem Tov, which we still have actually. That it was, I guess, burned publicly. In Erev Pesach, Tafkuf from Nun Aleph, which is 1796. It's very easy to get very quickly to book versions. Yeah, you see this a lot. Once the word goes out that something is heresy, is apocryphsis, that's it. It's whether it's whatever it is, and anything that's slightly different, how you tweak it, how you understand it, whether it's under the radar or on top of the radar, that's everything. It's because everything is nothing. These things are not scientific. These things are about anxiety and about difference, and about change, and about hearsay. And this is just so common. Nothing's changed really. So it's because we don't have a Sanhedrin. We don't have a due process for these things. To become word of mouth. That's what it looks like is happening here. That's how Rabbi Shneur Zalman seems to be describing, which is no surprise at all. And because it's gone from the realm of things that you could argue with, like to a Kabbalistic argument between the Gaon and Rabbi Shneur Zalman Liadi, people don't know anything about that. All they know is the Gaon's opposed. That's it. So you see it. It's nothing new. Okay. See you later.
Thank you.
Yeah.